In the Catholic faith, one of the most powerful and challenging calls that Jesus gives us is to carry your cross. It's a phrase that can be difficult to understand at first, but it holds a deep meaning for our spiritual lives. Carrying your cross is about embracing the trials and struggles we face with faith, understanding that our suffering can unite us with Christ's own suffering and be a means of spiritual growth. Jesus speaks directly to us about this in the Gospel of Matthew, where he says, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." Matthew 16:24. These words are not just about physical suffering, but about the willingness to put aside our own desires, to deny ourselves, and to live in accordance with God's will. In essence, to carry our cross means to accept the challenges of life with faith, even when it's difficult, and to trust that God will use our suffering for good. This doesn't mean we should seek out suffering or try to make our lives harder than they need to be. Rather, it's about embracing the challenges we are already given, whether they are physical, emotional, or spiritual. Jesus never promised that following him would be easy. In fact, he warned his followers in John chapter 16:33, "In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world." To carry our cross is to acknowledge that we will face difficulties, but it is also to remember that Jesus has already overcome the ultimate suffering, his death on the cross. St. Paul also speaks to the transformative power of suffering. In Romans 5:3-4 he writes, "We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope." This reminds us that suffering is not meaningless. It has a purpose in our lives. Just as Jesus' cross was the means of our salvation, our crosses, when carried with faith, can help to purify us, build our character, and bring us closer to God. But what does it look like in practice to carry our cross? It can mean facing hardship with patience, trusting God when life doesn't go as planned, or making sacrifices for the sake of others. It's about offering up our personal struggles to God, just as Jesus offered his suffering for our sake. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12:9, St. Paul writes, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" Our weakness, our struggles, are opportunities for God's grace to shine through. Moreover, Jesus reassures us in Matthew chapter 11:28-30, saying, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Jesus is not asking us to carry our cross alone. He is with us, helping to bear the load, offering his strength when we feel weak, and offering rest when we feel weary. In the end, carrying our cross is not about the suffering itself, but about the love and faith with which we carry it. By uniting our struggles with Christ's sacrifice, we participate in his redemptive work and grow closer to him. When we take up our cross with trust in God's plan, we find that we are never alone in our suffering, and it ultimately leads us to a deeper relationship with the one who carried the heaviest cross for us.